Hello and welcome to PalaceFanTV for our September review video here at the Victory Club in Norwood. I'm Jim Daly and I've got with me Jay Crame from the Eagles Beak. Hello mate.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good, and I've got Terence Ford from redandbluearmy.co.uk. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, thanks for joining me chaps. We're going to look back over Palace's performances in September and a little bit of October with that West Brom game. When we did our end of review video for August we were second, we're now fourth. So obviously it's all falling apart here at Palace. We've had 2 defeats and 2 wins in the league, and obviously a win against Charlton in the Cup. We started off with those games against Man City and Spurs. 2 defeats. That City game, bit unlucky to come away with a defeat in that one, Terry, really.
Yeah, definitely. We were really unlucky. I thought we missed Connor Wickham massively, as I would say, being a huge fan of his. Yeah. I thought we just lacked a presence up top. But the way the game went, with Kabay, Puncheon and McArthur, they really competed well in the middle with a very physical Manchester City midfield. And I thought at the end of the day we were very unlucky to lose, and a point would have probably been a fair result.
Saw from the way City celebrated that they really sort of appreciated winning that. They probably thought they were going to get a draw. We had, talking about lack of Connor Wickham, we had Balassi up front in that game. Not really his position, is it, Jay?
No, it's not. No, he's not a natural goal scorer. Doesn't particularly have an eye for goal.
The stats.
You're only as good as your last game.
True, very true.
I haven't got it yet. Yeah, he's not really that player. I mean, it's funny because that game we were kind of playing the way that perhaps we should do with Dwight Gale, in that we were working the channels with Balassi a bit more than we have done with Gale. But he's not a natural goal scorer. He doesn't really have an eye for goal, as we've seen through his goal scoring record since he's been at the club. He's better out wide, you know, providing the assists, getting the ball into the box. But for me, like a lot of Palace fans I've spoken to, I was more disappointed that we'd lost to a Manchester City side, and I think that says a lot about the way we're playing at the moment. Right, I have been playing so far. Being disappointed going away from a defeat at home to City is
probably the strongest team in the league this season,
especially up to that point.
Up to that point, they were unbeaten.
Yeah, that was 5 wins in a row for them, and obviously the wheels have come off a little bit since then. But that was the form team in English football, and on another day, if Dwight Gale right at the other end, if he scores, we win the game, and they don't.
The goal at the end there came from an Alex McCarthy sort of spill out a little bit, and obviously the Spurs game as well, arguably a mistake from McCarthy, since been dropped for Hennessy. Where does McCarthy stand for you? And bear in mind we've got Jules as well potentially back from injury.
I think McCarthy has arguably made a mistake in pretty much every game. I got caned on Holmesdale radio for pointing this out, and people were saying that I was being very picky. But having been a goalkeeper myself, I know what I would have been disappointed with. And there's points in every game you can point to it was disappointing. People spoke about the Nasri shot that you spilled being a hard shot, but I'm sorry, you're a Premier League goalkeeper, and if you're a Premier League goalkeeper, you've got to hold that. And if you're not holding it, push it away. Don't push it out right into the 6-yard box, is what he did. And if you think Norwich, Chelsea, he pushed the ball out into the areas, but far enough away to be able to get back up and make the second save. So it's not an unusual thing for him.
But his performances outside of those mistakes, which obviously as a goalkeeper get magnified, he's been pretty good, isn't he, Terry?
Yeah, I think he's got the potential to be our number one for a long time, but he's a young goalkeeper and he's going to make mistakes. Wayne Hennessy has made mistakes but not been punished for them. So McCarthy has just been in that sort of run of form where every sort of mistake has led to a goal. Now if you have an outfield player playing in that sort of way and making those mistakes, you can take them out and it's not such a big deal. You just drop them for a couple of games and bring someone else in. Again, with everything looked at with a magnifying glass with a goalkeeper, taking him out becomes a big deal all of a sudden. But take him out, give him a few games off, and let him work on those areas where he's been making mistakes, mainly at his near post, and go from there.
Where do you stand on it, Jay, in terms of our 3 goalkeeping options?
I think Parde's kind of made it clear that his signing is McCarthy, and that's his number one keeper. But his form hasn't been great, as Terry's already said. He's made a few errors. I think Hennessy's been quite lucky in the way that he's come in. He made a few errors. He made an almighty error against Charlton, but it didn't really affect the game. But he's made similar errors, but they haven't actually resulted in a goal. I think you can go back to the fact that if a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it is generally a goal, or it's highlighted a lot more than if a striker misses an open goal, midfielder makes a mistake, or a defender makes a mistake. They still, they can be barreled out, but a keeper, you're the last line of defence, aren't you? I think McCarthy will be our number one keeper in the longer term. Speroni, I hate to say it, but I think it's probably his last season for us. Whether we're seeing him playing,
Terry's not happy with that.
No, I don't think anybody is, to be honest. But there comes a time, players have come and gone at Palace. Obviously, Speroni's a legend at Palace. He's been at a club for over 10 years now, so he will go down in history for us. But I think that's one of the reasons we've managed to keep Hennessy at the club and have McCarthy as well. Two decent, well-matched keepers, I think, in the end. But for me, McCarthy will end up being a number one keeper.
Good stuff. Now, you mentioned the Charlton game. Obviously, that came after those 2 defeats. Fairly easy win for Palace. A Gale hat-trick, who has since come into the team since scoring that. How does he fit into the way we play? Because he's not a big man, and can he really do a job for Palace up top?
I think he's always going to struggle as long as we're playing a lone man role. I think 95% of Palace fans put Connor Wickham straight back into the team when he's back from injury. We don't play to his strengths. Dwight Gale's a small guy, and a lot of the times we're putting difficult balls in high up around the neck area or the chest area, and that's not really where Gale's strongest. Where Gale's strongest is getting in behind defenders and running off of defenders, and I think as long as we play at lone man role, Dwight Gale's going to have a bat on his hand to get any sort of game time.
He's almost born in the wrong era, isn't he, Jay? If this is the mid-90s, he'd be playing with a big man and smashing him in.
Yeah, if he's part of a striking partnership like the old Wright and Bright role as we enjoyed back in the day, he will be banging in the goals. If he had that support up front, as a lone striker, he really struggles. And I find it really odd to see that when we played Balassi as a lone role up front, we were playing balls into the channels for him to run onto. But against West Brom for Gale, we were putting the ball up in the air to him. And while he battled hard and won a few headers in the air, he's never going to get much change out of that West Brom back line. We should really be playing the balls like we did to Balassi into the channels and bringing the talented midfield on. But for me, like Terry said, Connor Wickham is the one that's going to come back in and fits the formation absolutely perfectly.
If I could offer you another choice, we had Balassi up front, but maybe from our midfield, would someone like Bakary Sakho do a better job up top? Strong guy, can hold it up. Could he be an option up there, Terry?
Yeah, a lot of people have said that he should go up there. I think in the Spurs game he was there for a little bit when we weirdly went 4-4-2 with 2 false 10s or 9s or whatever they were.
Who knows what was happening there?
Alan Pardew's a very smart guy, and he knows what he sees in a footballer, and whilst to us it all looks like Bakary Sakho has the attributes to play that lone role striker in terms of his strength, he's got good pace, he can hit the ball left-footed and right-footed as we saw against Spurs from the Hugo Lloris save. You'd think he'd be able to do it, but the fact that Pardew hasn't put in there tells me that he probably can't.
Okay. We had Watford after that Charlton game, which was a very crucial win for Palace and a very good performance. Cabaye got the goal, but arguably wasn't man of the match because Brede Hangeland had one of the games of his career, didn't he, Jay? He was absolutely fantastic.
Fantastic, yeah. Since he's come in and replaced Delaney, he's had a kind of a new lease of life, and it makes you think what Palace fans are worried about in the summer, really, because a lot of Palace fans are saying we need a new centre-back somewhere. There were rumours that we were looking at centre-backs, but I think that was probably one of the most underrated signings we made, with everything that came with the Cabaye signing and others. Signing Hangeland on a 1-year deal has proven to be inspired so far.
He was brilliant, but what now when Delaney gets back, Jay? Does Delaney go back in, or do you keep... sorry, not Jay, Terry. Do you keep Hangeland in? I mean, it's difficult to drop someone when they're playing that well.
Yeah, it's very easy to just remember the last game, but it's quite easy to forget that Damien Delaney marked a world-class striker out of the game in Diego Costa in the Chelsea match. So it's very easy to forget that that's taken place. Delaney probably goes back in. Brede Hangeland is not the youngest of people. His legs might start to go, so you don't want to be playing him every game. You want to protect him in that sense. And he's a brilliant understudy to Scott Dann and Damien Delaney, but I think Damien Delaney and Scott Dann are our main two.
Fair enough. Of course, I mean, Hangerland obviously saves you a spot on the team bus because he's getting the train home every week, so saves you some money there. West Brom was the last game of this run before this video is recorded. Another good win, difficult against the West Brom team that came to defend, but on the day, Wilf Zaha was fantastic, Jay, wasn't he?
Yeah, real glimpses of back to his best really from before he went to United. Had that terrible spell there. Pardew's obviously spoken to him, since that the first half performance at Spurs, which was there was suggestions that he wasn't very well in the warm up, but Pardew was outspoken about him, and I'm not that keen on managers going out into public and speaking about them, but I think it's worked wonders. I mean, that second half when he came on against Watford, won us a game, and that game against West Brom, he was brilliant, absolutely fantastic.
Terry, how do you deal with someone like Will Zaha, sort of very bullish, very confident? Is dropping him working? Is that the way you deal with someone like that?
Well, since he's come back, he's scored and got 1-2 penalties that have ended up winning us games. So Pardew clearly knows what he's doing in that sense. He's a very, obviously not the easiest character to manage. Probably the reason why it didn't work out for him at Manchester United, and one of the many reasons. So we've got to trust in Pardew. He's the manager, he's the guy who knows what he's doing. He's big into sports psychology. You've got Jeremy Snape, the old England cricketer, has been doing some sports psychology stuff with our players, and he's very well respected in that field. Thanks to Layla the Eagle in the programme for that piece of information. But yeah, so Pardew's obviously, he's going with the scholars on this, and he's not just doing it willy-nilly and going out like maybe a Neil Warnock would have done in the past and smashing up the changing room and so on. So he knows what he's knows.
That's very interesting. Now, and obviously someone we haven't really talked much about, but it's been fantastic, is Johan Cabaye, who's just been brilliant for Palace, hasn't he, recently? I mean, do you feel like we're seeing even more than we thought we were going to see from Cabaye when we signed him?
Definitely. I don't think many fans would have expected the defensive qualities that he's brought into the team. I think everybody were looking forward to the attacking qualities, the balls into the wide areas or the final ball into the penalty area. But the interceptions he's made in the Premier League is the most so far of any player. I think he's shown an awful lot more than what we were expecting.
Yeah.
It's kind of run, and the West Brom game is an ideal example. He ran the game from start to finish for us, and was so influential. He kind of replaces Jednak in the team from last season, and when you consider Jednak can't really pass the ball, it's such an upgrade. It's great to see.
Do you think, Terry, he's almost sort of lifted the rest of the team? Everyone else is playing better as a result of him having
massively so. I think from game one with MacArthur, he lifted MacArthur from that point. MacArthur's pass percentage is insane compared to what it was last season, and he's already got 2 goal assists this season when he had none last season. So he's definitely made MacArthur up his performances, and it's been a bit more of a slow burn with punching, but I think we're going to start seeing a bit. We saw it in the West Brom game, those two gelling together a lot more, and they were just picking passes to Zaha for fun, who was taking absolute liberties out of Chris Brunt.
He was. So
the best thing about this team, I think, sorry Jim, is that they all seem to be on the same level. And I remember Lombardo coming to Palace, and the rest of the team weren't on the same level. He was outstanding, far above anybody else. And this team seems to work. And it really does with the attacking qualities that we have.
What are you saying about Paul Warhurst?
Not naming names, of course.
Poor old Paul Warhurst. So £10 million well spent on Cabaye? Looking like,
I think we can all pretty much say it's probably the best £10 million we've ever spent.
Good. We're going to end this video with a quiz. We all know I love a quiz, and this quiz is about Brede Hangeland, who's been fantastic for us. So we're going to test your knowledge on Palace's Norwegian centre-back. So question 1. Now Hangeland is Norwegian, obviously, but he was actually born in America. But whereabouts exactly was he born? Was it A, Portland, Oregon, B, Albuquerque, New Mexico, or C, Houston, Texas? What do you reckon, Terry?
I have no idea. A.
Okay, fair enough.
Portland.
Portland, very nice place.
Houston, Texas.
Gonna go for Houston?
Yep, I am.
The correct answer is Houston, Texas. Jay is 1-0 up. Question 2. How many times has Brede played for Norway? Is it 71 times, 81 times, or 91 times? What do you reckon? Go on, Jay, what do you reckon?
B. 81.
81. Terry?
C.
91 times. The correct answer is 91. Well done. We're 1-1 We're at the equaliser there from Terry. So this is the deciding question. Number 3. Breda got married in 1999, but at his wedding, what were the guests asked to do? Was it A, donate to charity instead of giving a wedding gift? B, all wear Fulham kits, so he was playing for at the time? Or C, all perform a traditional Norwegian dance? What do you reckon, Terry? Have you seen a Norwegian dance?
No, but I like the sound of it, so I want to go for a Norwegian dance.
Jay?
I've got a feeling it's a charity one.
Okay. The answer is A, the charity. So well done, Jay. Unlucky. The Norwegian dance would have been a great answer. The charity at the time was the Save the Children project in Cambodia. £45,000 was raised. So fantastic there from Breda. Good chaps. Thanks for joining me for our review. See you next month. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at PalaceFanTV and subscribe for all our weekly videos here. And we'll see you again soon. Cheers.